Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hi, I'm Logan Windsor with Wyatt Wells, and today isn't going to be your normal show. We were excited to talk about the end of the NBA season approaching, March Madness coming up, the rise of the XFL, and then March 11th happened. Now, before we get started, we want to say two things very openly. The first thing is that we're not experts on what's going on, especially in the field of medicine, especially what's going on. We don't have the answers, and we're not going to assume like we do.
No clue whatsoever.
No. And then with some of the things we say, there's a big distinction between cancellation versus suspension. A cancellation means that the games will just not be played whatsoever, and suspension means that it will most likely be postponed. And we'll talk a little bit about it towards the end, but just everyone stay safe as we talk about the effects it has on the sports world for the next 10 to 15 minutes. The big one being last night is after Rudy Gobert got tested positive for corona, they shut down the Thunder Jazz game in Oklahoma City, and 5 minutes later, the entire NBA season has now been suspended.
Yeah, it was kind of like a domino effect, if you will. Once that first player in the NBA was going to get infected, it was only a matter of time before they shut the whole thing down. Because you don't know who they can infect over the course of a couple weeks or so. I mean, they play 5 or so different teams, and then those teams spread out and play everybody else. So it's a lot easier to just try to suspend the whole thing, contain it as much as possible between only a couple of clusters of people instead of an entire league.
Yeah, it's just, they were looking to go to fans only. No fans in the games for the rest of the NBA season. And then once a player gets infected, I think just the whole thing just got
because you're
completely shut
breathing,
down.
sweating on each other. I mean, you're touching that ball.
The weirdest thing I think I've ever seen in sports history is when the NBA got canceled, the Dallas Nuggets game was still going on.
Yeah, they played a little bit longer. They didn't end the game just as the news, because it went on that they were going to try to finish out the rest of the games that night. They ended up not pursuing the Pelicans game, sadly.
But no, just like when it was in the middle of the third quarter, the announcement got made. You could see Mark Cuban's reaction to it, just completely live. All the players and all the fans knew that this was going to be the last game for a while. It was a bizarre feeling. The broadcasters just didn't really know what to do. And then, of course, Boban gets a career high because that's the most Boban thing I've ever heard, right? But it was just weird to see everyone's reaction. I mean, Rudy Gobert was infected, and now we got word literally 5 minutes ago. By the way, everything that we are saying is as of 11 a.m. Eastern on the 12th. There may be updates before I even get this show edited and posted. But as of 5 minutes ago, Donovan Mitchell now has been infected with COVID-19.
They were tested out of 58 people. He was the only person who...
The 2 All-Stars on the Jazz.
Sadly, were positive.
So what they're doing now is that every team that played the Jazz in the last 2 weeks is now being quarantined. That would include, I believe, the Raptors, the Pistons, the Celtics, and the Cavaliers.
And the Knicks.
And interesting note about the Knicks is the most Knick thing ever. So yesterday, before all hell broke loose, they were proposing the idea of a no fans or no NBA. Only one team said let's just business as normal. Why? What team was that?
That would be James Dolan and the New York Knicks.
It's just. But now the question becomes, again, we're speculating when the NBA, if it ever comes back this year, will they start in the playoffs or will it start from what today would have been?
That's the biggest part of it, is just because how many games were left until the
15.
start? So 15 games.
15 games.
They would have had 15 games to kind of establish whatever they wanted to do, or kind of continue on with the season. I don't know if you can just jumpstart it right into the playoffs. I mean,
it's going to be.
They've already stated they have no issue of extending the season into August. They're not afraid of any competition for TV power with football not on yet, and their biggest competitor being baseball. So they're not exactly worried too much about that. But I would think it'd be a little bit weird if you just immediately started the playoffs, because I mean that's seeding, that's 15 games, that can determine a lot and reshape how the playoffs look entirely in those 15 games.
Yeah, you're looking at it more like in a sports mindset. That's a good point, because like the Pelicans, I love Zion, and he had a chance to make the playoffs, but they canceled the 15 games. Obviously, he doesn't.
Then you don't have a chance.
The other two big factors are this: one, the amount of money that's lost canceling 15 games for 30 NBA teams. And two, the people who worked those games. Now, we saw Mark Cuban last night kind of talk about the owner's mentality of like getting these people, like as long as they do volunteer work, they get the same amount of money they would for, there's like some packages they're trying to work on. But that's going to be a big thing around the sports world, because the next big news that broke yesterday was March Madness is being played without fans. The arguably biggest sporting event every year will have no fans in it whatsoever, and that's as of right now.
I know, yeah, and it could be canceled.
Would you? I mean, I don't see a world where you wouldn't put the fans in jeopardy, but you would put the players in jeopardy.
Well, here's the problem: the NBA, the professional league of basketball has already suspended their season. It's kind of hard to look at amateurs who aren't playing for a paycheck and exposing them to that possibility, because I mean it's the same thing. They're just waiting for somebody to get infected, and once you get infected, you got to shut the whole thing down.
We saw
just kind of hold out.
Nebraska's coach Fred Hoiberg. He seemed to be. Now it came back that it wasn't corona, but every single time you see someone not feel good, you're gonna get that scared mentality.
Yeah, it sucks living in Orlando right now, and being a server, as you and I both are, handling people's food and plates and dishes.
I might start wearing like those gloves
each time I hear somebody cough. I just kind of there's a little bit of doubt each time.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting with the March Madness. My guess would be is that it would be canceled, or at least postponed. Then it wouldn't be March Madness anymore. It would be
it'd be weird calling
June
it
Madness,
or April Madness.
I mean,
July Madness.
And then the XFL, we had that employee for the Seattle Sea Dragons who got infected. So I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the day if the XFL no longer has a. And that's interesting because they're in their first year.
The G League suspended. The ATP.
The G League's canceled. They're done. They're not even doing a playoffs. The G League is officially canceled for the rest of the year. They're not doing anything anymore.
The ATP suspended play for all tennis matches.
As far as I know, the Big Ten tournament's canceled.
ACC is actually still going on today. Clemson, who will play Florida State at 12 o'clock, so in actually 30 minutes of this being recorded. So they are going to continue playing without fans, of course, but it's really just holding out until, I mean, it's a lot of money.
The money aspect is going to be hurtful.
That's the biggest part of it.
I would mention the stock market. The stock market's down 9,000 points in the last 2 months. I mean, the first big cancellation was the Ivy League, and that was what feels like weeks ago, but it was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like that Ivy League cancellation was like way back in the past?
It feels like last week.
It does, but I think it was just yesterday was just such a long and upsetting day. The draft is being talks that there will be no fans involved, and it'll actually be the quickest NBA draft of all time since there won't be the suspense of every single pick.
And it's in Las Vegas, so it was supposed to be the most ambitious draft process yet.
I think they'll probably just relocate it to off. I mean that'd be my guess, is that they probably won't do it in Vegas. They'll hold each owners like in their own respective places, and they'll just do it like virtually. Because what we didn't mention was the breaking news yesterday morning, which again feels like a week ago, that Oakland and Seattle are not allowing gatherings over 1,000 people. So the Seattle opener for the MLB, will that happen? In Oakland for the A's, will baseball just follow in general and suspend the MLB season? And let's just say all sports get suspended for the time being. What happens to all the people covering sports? What happens to all the people that were working those games? it's a tough conversation to have. But I mean, it's going to be important for the people who own those companies like Mark Cuban and et cetera.
I mean, it'll be really interesting to see just how it develops longer into the season, or as we cancel more and more games and as more sporting events are no longer happening in general. What are the ESPNs and the Fox Sports and the NBCs gonna do to fill the time?
You might start seeing just reruns of, like, there was jokes about it yesterday. You might just start seeing reruns of games because there will be none. So, I mean,
Class is definitely going to be interesting in the next couple of.
Yeah, I mean,
speaking of Rollins, the school we work with in partnership to call their games has notified us this morning that they've canceled the remaining games of their spring sports. So sadly, we will no longer get to call their lacrosse games, and that's huge because both teams were in the top 10 ranked and were expected to have huge seasons and make huge strides in the national landscape.
The women's softball team was undefeated entering the week. They were number 3 in the nation, I believe. They had a couple losses this week that I, of course, called because I am the jinx of the Rollins softball team. But I mean, no, it seems like Rollins is the first college that I've seen cancel athletics. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure in the next 2 days that there'll just be dominoes falling. So, I mean, we're going to have to, you know how like Italy and Japan and China have all been under quarantine. That may be coming for America soon. And it's just trying to find a way to buy the time without panicking, which is going to be very hard to do.
It's just going to be kind of interesting to wait it out and see what happens in the coming months. What's going to happen job-wise, economy-wise, just kind of if we go on those lockdowns more so like what these other countries have experienced. Especially with the states that are already infected like ours. I
mean, there was a couple in Tampa. I mean, we're going to stay safe as much as we can. We are 2 20-year-old healthy adults who have lots of toilet paper and lots of hand soap at our disposal.
Oh God! What? I gotta go fight someone now for some toilet paper. Jeez.
I have a 24-pack. I will be okay. And if not, I have.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will give out Logan's address for a variety of money options. Highest bidder wins, and you will get his toilet.
I'm selling on the black market for $20 each.
Yeah. Oh, each.
A roll.
Per roll.
Per roll.
Yikes.
But any updates that you have or any closing thoughts?
I really don't know. Or just kind of go to class, see what happens.
If we will, Full Sail
have class.
Full Sail is the last school in Florida to not cancel.
Yeah, we haven't canceled yet. That we even know of.
Yeah, like they are focusing on Hall of Fame week currently, but no, I mean all Florida public schools have been canceled. Rollins canceled all their classes this morning. All the private schools are slowly following. So, I mean, this is going to be the shortest show we have.
Yeah, there's just not much to cover, sadly.
No. So
Steph Curry returned. I mean, like,
he did. Yeah, I mean, but his little hand's better now.
It's always good to see Steph back.
It is. That was a nice reason to smile about a week ago.
But I mean, I'm just trying to scroll through here real quick.
Because
possibly Vince Carter's last game.
Yeah, Vince Carter.
That would be an awful way to end on it.
A lot of people's probably last games. I mean, including Dragon Bender, maybe.
Who?
Exactly. But I mean, because these updates are happening rapidly. Like, the thing about when stuff happens like this, it happens exponentially. That's why yesterday was such a big day. Today will be a bigger day, too.
Yeah, La Liga was canceled, and we are expected to get some more news later on in the day. It is only 11:35.
It is still, hopefully I'll get this within the next hour or two.
So, we should expect some more updates later on in the day, but our schedules don't work to film that late.
So for us, I mean, if there is a big sports update in the next week, we'll come back. Otherwise, we're going to be under hiatus. Tank Observers, Jackson and Chris's show will still go on as normal because it's just projections. Mm-hmm. They want to keep going. And then Chris and Landon's show Landon and Cam's show will be on the buzzer. I mean, since it's NBA themed, unless there's updates, unless the tournament still goes on, that'll be postponed. So I'll close it off unless you have anything else to say.
No, not really, sadly.
The only thing that I will say is that we got to be together through this, every one of us. We can't panic. The second people start panicking, like last night, I saw so much panic all over social media and just people that I talked to.
Well, that's the problem with social media is that we have so much misinformation as well. I mean, there were stories coming out that snorting cocaine and drinking bleach were acceptable cures.
And the worst part is that people are going to start believing that. It's a joke, obviously, but people are going to start believing that stuff. So find a source that you really trust. Keep up to date daily about what's going on. Limit travel. Like I was going to go to Vegas.
I know the flights are so cheap. It's so hard not to.
Don't be tempted. I was going to go to Vegas for my birthday.
So hard not to.
My stepmom was going to come down in a week, and I told her not to. I'm thinking about going back to Wisconsin because I miss it. I miss all of them so much. You know, it's hard being when stuff like this goes wrong. It's hard to be that far away from family. But the worst thing you can do right now is travel. So.
Exactly, especially being stuck in a tin box up in the air.
Yeah, I would have been in tin box in the car, but that's almost just as worse because I cannot stay focused for 26 straight hours.
Yeah, but then also, you're traveling through multiple states instead of just flying over.
Yeah, so that's gonna do it. I mean, we're gonna try and stay updated. You stay updated also. Be safe out there, but don't panic. For Wyatt Wells, I'm Logan Windsor. Stay safe, everyone.